Hello, it is Sunday the 28th of December. Can you believe it? Christmas has been and gone. Only a couple of days ago, and here we are on our last week of December of 2025. And I don't know about you, but I cannot wait for 2025 to do one. How's your week been? Did you all have a great Christmas? I really hope you did. It's not the easiest of time, pretty stressful. Certainly was over in this side of the world. I'm coming from you live in London, UK. Welcome to Wicked Women. We have a great subject tonight, and I'm going to bring in my co-host and counterpart, first of all, the lovely Val. How are you, darling?
I'm all right. How are you? How was your Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas is good. I've still got the cough. But Christmas was quiet, it was very, very quiet. It could have been better, but, sometimes you just need that, don't you? You just need the quietness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm looking up for our banner. Where is it? Here it is, waiting to go up behind us. There we go. Good subject tonight. I put up the subject for the next couple of weeks because we have a busy week this week. We have tonight. And then we have New Year's Eve. And then we have next Sunday. And I'm like, oh, my God. But this is the only week of the year that will actually happen.
Right. Because, it's the only week in the year that we'll have a video in 25, one in 26, or 2 in 26. So two in 25 and 2 in 26.
Yeah, one will be in 26 and 2 will be in 25. It will be. I have to say to people, please excuse my cough. It is still with me. Better than it was, but it's been a bit of a stressful day. But it's nice to be here. Thank you to everyone for the comments. I can see them. Hi, Carlene, and hi, Steve. How you doing? It's a difficult week because it's that week between Christmas and New Year, and nobody knows what day of the week it is. And is it weekend yet, and what's going on? But it's also a week of, you start seeing all these posts come on Facebook saying, and the Instagram, oh, can't wait for 26 to come in. Can't wait. This has happened. And I was saying right at the start of the show, personally, 2025 can do one for me. It's been a really crappy year. How about you?
Yeah, a lot of things have happened this year that I was not expecting and was not thrilled about. And hopefully in 2026, it'll all get cleared back up. 2025 was pretty rough on my health. I got kind of worse, but I'm hoping 26 will be a better year for myself and everything around me.
It was the year of the snake. And obviously when you have the year of the snake, that's everyone shedding, getting rid of the old, getting rid of what's not needed anymore.
Well, you can stay in 25.
Yeah, and because next year is the year of the fire horse. Go, go, go. So I'm really looking forward to that. Michael is waiting to join us, and he's not been too well either. So we're all sort of like walking wounded, aren't we, really?
And we are. You couldn't make a good person between us. But, we just have to push through it.
I don't know about you, Val. I've learned some pretty shitty lessons this year. Just when you think I've learned as much as I want to learn, life goes, no, you've got more. And some of those lessons have come from people that I truly love, truly cared about, and broken my heart, and also have definitely stabbed me in the heart. And it's, if I wasn't already hard in my heart, it's made me harden it even more.
Yeah. But I think our past has made us able to handle stuff like that, because we've been changing for so many years that, now we're in a place that if bad shit happens, we can deal with it.
Well, you say that, but I don't know, because I started the beginning of this year in a really bad spot, in a very dark spot in my life. And there were times that you just wanted to like get in the car and just not come back. And I started in a very dark place, and it took me some months to come out of that. And now I have some other stuff's come along to take me down that road again. And it's kind of like, I definitely need a break. I definitely need a holiday to ground myself. And
I think we could all use that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
But I think that I myself have been through way worse than what happened this year or this past year. So yeah, it sucked, but it wasn't near as bad as things that have happened before, and I got through it. So
I have to disagree, because my year, I had, first of all, they thought I had cancer. And now I'm ending the year with like, we've got to do that cancer check again. Then my car got hit twice. Then it got broken into. Then my mum came down the stairs and did her leg in. Then there was a lot of illness and worry. It's just been constant. And I honestly think that, and then people come into your life or have been in your life for a long period of time, and suddenly they weren't in my life anymore. And it really affected me a lot. And that was a lesson that I didn't expect to get. People say, oh, I'm always there for you. I love you, and then shit hits the fan and they're gone. And that's why I actually can't stand when people say it to me, because I'm like, yeah, you say that, but actually when the shit hits the fan, where the fuck are you?
Right.
And because everyone has their own stuff going on and everyone's got their own, I get it. For me, this last decade, from I'd say, where are we, 2016, 2017 onward, has been shit. I'm not going to lie, it's been a very difficult, I don't know if the planets are in alignment, but it's like they can fuck off out of Capricorn, please, because I've literally had enough of them now. And I think it got to a point, I'm just saying, when the dog snicked my shoe, it's like, when is it going to end? So when we looked about the lessons that people learn in my life, I have learned some very tough lessons. I probably have also given lessons to people as well, let's be honest. We've all given lessons to people. And some of the lessons, I look back and I've learned it again and again. And one of my lessons is I have in my past, where my friends are concerned, I've given them too many chances. I've given them too many allowances. I had someone who was very, very close to me, and they would say to me, you deserve better than that. And if someone can't be bothered to pick up a phone or send you a message, and it takes 2 minutes, and they're all going through stuff, as I know, but there are 24 hours in a day.
Sure.
and there's, it doesn't take long to send a message, although we're all bad at it at times. But it says a lot about how they see you. And I thought about that, and I just thought, and then this person disappeared out of my life. They've been in my life a long time, and they were my rock, my sanity, my closest, the closest thing to me. And I always felt like no matter what happened, they would be there for me. Years and years and decades of being there. And I don't think I've ever got over that, because the hurt is still in me. And it was a lesson that I wasn't prepared for, because I truly believed they would always be there. And I didn't see it coming. I must have been so blind of because there are love for partners and there's also love for friends. And sometimes now, our friends can really stab you in the heart more than a partner can, because the friend knows you more. And there is not a day that I don't think about them and wonder what they're up to, and I don't miss them. But I'm also really angry at them too. I'm also really hurt, and life is so short, and for whatever reason they decided to go down a different road, and they put quite a few people out of their life. For me, that was a lesson I wasn't prepared for. It was like, what and so what do you do in that? You've got to deal with it. They're not talking to you. It's a brick wall. It's silent. You can't get hold of them. There's no, in the end, you have to deal with that. And it goes internally. You go over it in your head, and it's like, did I really deserve that lesson? And I think in my life, my friendships have been the one that have stabbed me in the back more than my partners have.
Well, for one thing, in most cases, your friends are there before you have your partner.
Yep.
And after, so they know you. They know everything about you, not just, they know ways to hurt you that most people don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the lessons that we need to learn from things like that is, not that you can't rely on someone, because in most cases you can, but if they are not there, you have to learn to depend on yourself.
Isn't that the biggest lesson?
I mean, and that goes with partners, with friends, with anything that happens. You can't depend on someone else to come in and save you from things. You have to learn to depend on yourself. And, if you do have someone to come and help, you're very lucky. But you don't always have that right when you need it. So you do need to learn to depend on yourself.
I hate the word expectation, because when you've known someone for a long period of time, and we're talking decades, I wouldn't say the expectation, but your norm, because they've been there so long, is that this person's going to be there in the future. They've been there in the past, the present, and you expect them to be there in the future unless life takes them from you. So, and you know what? It's like, I think I was talking to my osteopath the other day as I was lying on the table being pushed in different directions, and he said to me, "Get it out of your system, girl." And I said, "You know what? I realize how much there is going on inside me, and it can manifest physically, because when you don't have the chance to have a conversation with someone and say the things that you need to say, and it's not just friends that have done it this year, and there's more than one friend. It's family.
Yeah.
Family has done it as well this year. Family has reacted and said things this year that I wasn't prepared for, that I didn't expect. And now we're all human, we all fuck up and make mistakes. But I also think that when it comes to family, we should really be there for one another. And so here I am at the tender age that I am, and it feels like Groundhog Day. There are so many female friends that I have had in my life. And I wonder if that's the lesson, because I go back to my childhood, to my teenager, and all my closest female friends, and I'm talking about the best friend,
Right.
They either disappeared, stabbed me in the back, or just stopped being it. Now, that made me think I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible friend. I fuck up, I make mistakes like everyone else. But actually, I wonder if I pick the same type of person like I did in Partners, because I'm a sort of person, when I meet you, come over, join the club, here you go, come into my world. I'm very, very giving, very on giving. That's just who I am. And I wondered, are we as human beings, do we attract the same kind of friend as we do a partner?
I think it goes along with the empath, attracting, people who are in need of our help.
Yeah.
Once they get that help and they get themselves in a good place, they don't need us anymore.
It's a very good point.
But it's also on our side. I think we attract certain kind of people.
Magnets, absolutely.
And we, it's in our nature to want to help people.
Yeah.
So it's not all, on their side. It's not all their fault. And I don't mean that other people don't have the same problems, but, it's just like we can be walking through somewhere, and if someone sees us, they tell us their life story because they know we care enough to stand there and listen.
You make a good point when you say empath, because magnets, we are a magnet for a particular type of person who's drawn to our light.
Yeah.
Or is drawn to our energy. And as a friend, I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm certainly not, but as a friend, I'm very giving. I'm like, yeah. Here's my keys, there's my car, here's my home, you're welcome. That's who I am.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to get some of that back. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. But what I don't like is ghosting in friendship. I also don't like gaslighting. And I think that, as I said, years ago, and I'm using this as an example without coming into it, and then I'll ask you for you, because it's like, so when I went to Canada, I met my husband, ex-husband, and a friend of mine came out to be my maid of honor. Mm-hmm. Everything was paid for. The flight was paid for. Everything was paid for. I introduced her to a gentleman who was a good friend of mine out there, and they started dating. And I'd known him a long time. I'd known her a long time, but different. They got together, and all of a sudden, things changed. She was less unavailable, and she was different in her approach, and he became more withdrawn. Anyway, cut a long story short, it turns out that she had an issue with him and I being friends, even though I'd known him a long time. And she said, I don't want you to be friends with her anymore. And so, because he was now dating her, he went along with it. And I thought to myself, if a guy turned around and said to me, you can't be friends with Val anymore, or you can't be friends with Michael, or you can't be friends with, whoever, I'd say to them, bugger off, right? Bugger off.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your partner should encourage you to have friends, whether they're from the past, present, whatever. They should encourage you to have them. And this is not the first time in my life that a guy has come into, and I'm wondering if they feel threatened. They come into a relationship where they see I'm a really good friend. We're really good friends. We're like this, we do everything, and chat all the time, and they're threatened, or they want complete autonomy. They want them to be with them. And I remember like confronting this person and saying, you hurt me so much. Yeah. You hurt me more than my ex-husband, right? You stabbed that knife in my heart. You stabbed it. She didn't even end up with my other friend. My friend went on to marry someone else and is very happy. And we talked, and he said, I apologize for what happened. But at the end of the day, what is it about, are we so insecure as human beings that jealousy, envy comes along and we're like, no, you're not going to be friends with them anymore. You're not going to play with them anymore. I see this, and this has happened quite a few times in my life.
Yeah, I think it goes to insecurities, and of course, narcissistic behavior. I think it's more insecurity than anything.
Yep.
Because I don't have that, so I don't know how to explain it. But it's almost like, I don't want you to be friends with anyone else because I'm not there, so I can't see what you're doing. And if you're doing something that I don't approve of, you know what I mean? So you have to be with me or do exactly what I'm wanting you to do.
But then you have to wonder about the person who drops their friends for someone like that. Like, what the hell? They're very confident women, and yet they're like, oh, so I think what it is, I see a pattern, and you think, I've learned that lesson, but no, obviously I didn't, because then it happens again, and then it happens again, and you think, is there how do I get off that ride? I'm using this as an example to talk about lessons being learned.
Right.
When do we learn that lesson? Because whoever comes into my life now as a friend, I mean, you and I have known each other a long time, you and I chat and everything, but whoever comes into my life now, there's that kind of distance where I'm kind of like, and especially I'm using as an example the Impala.
Yeah.
So I have the Impala. She's beautiful. She's a crowd puller. A lot of people are attracted to the car. A lot of people want to be friends with me because of the car, right? Because they get to experience it. And that's lovely, don't get me wrong. But that's not why you're friends with me. You're friends because of me. And I think I've had my eyes opened wide about a lot of things in the last couple of years. And I don't know about you, Val, but definitely when it comes to my friends and even male friends, I mean, without going into names, there are people that you and I have talked about that say one thing, do another.
Yeah.
And so what about you? What's been one of the lessons that you've learned that's come round and round again?
Honestly, I think it's more so I'm never going to be able to do what I want to do in my head as long as I stay afraid to try it. So, I'm kind of at a place now where, I think, okay, if it fails, it fails. At least I tried. So, there's certain things that I'm wanting to do in 26 that I've already started, and it feels good to not just have them in my head, but to actually get it on paper and try to make it a reality. because I have been so afraid of doing things for so long because I was afraid of failure. And now I'm to the point where, so what? If it fails, it fails. At least I've tried, you know. And there's so many successful people out there that failed many times.
Is this a pattern, though, that a lesson that you're still reliving?
Yeah, because I mean, you know, it's not only relationships, which if I look back at my history, I can always tell myself, man, you failed so many times. But it hasn't stopped me from wanting that or being able to have that. But I think it's more so on the business side of things.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that well knowledge. I'm not that well at figuring out things. I'm not, smart in that subject. And I've always been too afraid to try.
It takes a leap of faith and a lot of courage to get yourself and put yourself out there, because of the failure, the feeling of fear of failure and rejection. Especially when you've worked so hard, like you have, like honing your craft. And it's like, I see how much you love it and how much you do it. And it's like, you need to believe in yourself, because when I put the Impala out there, I was the only one out there. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to charge. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And now people say to me all the time, well, how much do you charge? I'm not being funny, but I had nobody to tell. I had nobody to find out from. Maybe you need to, you have to learn as much as I do. And that's what I'm saying. Right. Is like, as a woman, very much in a male world, competitive world out there, it's been an eye-opener. And you have a gift and you need to share that, because your work is beautiful, Val.
Well, thank you. I think through the past few years, I've made several attempts at things, but I've stopped just short out of that fear. That fear has always stopped me just short of doing it. I can have everything ready and be ready to do this, and something just stops me.
Because it's learned behavior, isn't it? It's like, I want to do it, but what about that? It's easier to stay in the safe. It's easier to stay in the tried and tested and safe than putting yourself out there. Because if you stay in the safe, you can't get hurt.
Yeah, but you're never going to go any higher.
Like flying in a plane.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another one that you want to achieve, right?
Yeah, and I would love to go to places, but I have this internal just wall, and it just keeps me from going forward with things that, I've come up with something that I seriously think would be a tremendous hit. And, I've thought of it before, and I'm like, and I finally said, okay, so I made everything, I'm working on making this product, and I'm going to force myself, whether it fails or whether it doesn't, because I think that once I do fail or succeed, it's going to break that wall of stopping me. That wall that continuously tells me, there's no need for you to do this. It's just going to fail.
But I also think, if I may say so, even if you failed, it's not about failing, it's about trying. And you will say to yourself, God damn it, I did it. I tried. And it was like using, as I said, using the Impala, it was like I had so many people that looked at me going, but you're a woman. And, you know, that can't possibly be your car. And I used to be so scared to go out there. And am I confident enough to do this? Can I sell myself enough? Can I sell this enough? And you know what? I did it, and I set out to achieve it. And I have proved to myself, I have made a difference in people's lives. You will do this too. You will take that leap, because if you don't, Val, life is running past, and this is now the decade we have to do it.
Exactly. And it's not something I have been able to find anywhere. You know, and it's almost to the point where I'm afraid to ask questions to people, because I'm thinking, okay, they have more money and they have, you know, ways of doing things, and they're just going to jump on it and take it, and I'm just going to be left.
Well,
so it's almost like
you might need to patent it now.
It's almost like you know, I can't really do a whole lot of research from people who know about it.
Sure.
You know, so I've kind of had to do all that myself. And I do have one other person that's helping, but you know, it's scary to go and try to do something you've never done before.
But I watch you talk yourself out of it. I've seen you talk yourself out
of absolutely.
And using that as an example. It's because it's scary.
Absolutely.
And Groundhog Day, lesson learned. What are we learning from it? You and I, between us, have had quite a relationships that we could sit down and write a book over.
Right.
And I'm sure you and I would turn around and go, I am never dating anyone like that again. Lesson learned. And that is really true, because I don't date anymore. I don't date anymore. And B, if I meet someone, straight away that little red light's up there, and it's like, yeah, we'll just see how we go. Don't do wishy-washy. Don't do emotionally unavailable. Don't do people that are inconsistent. Bye-bye. And it took me years to get there.
But I think that at our age and what we have been through has taught us a whole lot about what we look for.
Well, that would be the lessons that we learn.
What we don't tolerate. You know, things that when I was, you know, 20s, even 30s, things that I would let slide and, you know, brush off.
Again and again.
Now I'm like, okay, let me tell you, that ain't happening. I've already been there, done that, and learned the lesson. So I'm never letting it happen again.
We learn from our lessons in some ways. We're always learning. To the end of our life, we are learning. And
Absolutely.
We're going to go through many experiences, and people are going to come into our life. But the one thing I've learned a lot, and you know, when I talk about this, I don't talk about it because poor me or anything like that. I'm using this as an example so other people that are listening or watching this may be able to relate to it and go, yeah, that happened to me, or, you know, etc. Is if we pick the same kind of people in our life, if we pick the same circumstances, if we pick the same lovers, I'm sure Michael will come in and say that he picked the same kind of woman again and again. You have to look at where this comes from. And you have to go back to our childhood and our past and our family, the cycle that we learn. I have watched my sister, my mum, and etc. go through certain things in their lives. And I think it's a pattern in the family with the women. And you know, because my dad, I mean, he's still here. don't have the closest relationship with him. But my dad, wishy-washy, inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, would promise you everything and then let you down. Other women, he would, other women would come in and they would be more important than his children. And I think as a child, that is what you know. And you subconsciously think, I'm never going to make that. I'm never going to pick that. But we do. And not just in our partners, but in our friends, because you and I could probably count on one hand, actually a couple of fingers, the people that are really there for this at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, the ones that say, oh, I'll always be there for you. Just call me. I'll be there. You call them up. Nobody answers the phone. And you're just like, you know, and it drives you insane. So now I've got to the point where I'm so choosy about who I have in my life that the dog is a better friend than some people are. The cat's a better friend. But I think I start to see the pattern in my family where the women in my family have been, they're very good women. They give and they take and they endure and they put up with. And it took my nan wasn't like that. She'd pick you up and throw you across the room. But my mom was different. My sister's different. I'm different. But I think we've become, as you say, tougher women. We're getting there. But I'm still learning those lessons. And I have been hurt. My lesson that I need to learn still, I'm hurt by those that I love. And I'm not talking partners. I'm talking real trusted love. And that would be family and friends. Those are the people that have cut me deeply in my life and continue to still do that. Even though I've cut them out of my life, some of them, sometimes those hurts go really deep.
And they last, it seems like they last longer. Because I think more of our, you know, we've invested more of our emotions and our heart into those long-term, you know, friendships. More so than, you know, even our partners, because I think in the back of our mind, there's always a chance your partners, you and your partner are, you know, will split up. But with a friend, you don't think about that.
100%.
You don't, you know, you don't think about, oh, well, one of these days we're not going to be friends anymore.
And you don't realize that one day your friends might not be there. You know, I lost a friend this year. Family lost a friend for an accident, and 1 minute they were there, next minute they were gone. You always think that you take for granted that you have the time to say the things you want to say, do the things you want to do with that person, because there's always tomorrow or there's next week. Well, actually, no, there isn't. You know, sometimes there isn't. And I think that we need to learn the lesson of confronting our fear, changing patterns, and, you know, that empath side of us. Sometimes we need to tweak that slightly, Val. We need to tweak it.
And I think that comes by waking up and not continuing down that pattern. You know, I mean, I'll admit I was in a pattern for years. And I got to where, you know, I felt like I couldn't be alone. I couldn't be by myself because I was scared. You know, and then I finally, you know, it was almost like a haze, you know, like I could see. And I finally, you know, just kind of said, what are you doing? You know, you're on the same pattern, and you've been on it for years. So it took me a long time to break that pattern. And when I did, best thing that ever happened, because it's like I got off that roller coaster.
What do you feel though when you see those that you love, your daughters, friends, and you see them and the lessons being shown to them, but they're still going in again and again? Like, we cannot, as a friend or a partner or a sister or whatever, we don't have that much power. We think we do because we think we're close to that person, but we actually don't. And when you see there's a cut and someone keeps going back to get it cut again and again and again and again, and it's like, you need to stop now. You need to stop. Is that lesson? Are you not learning anything from this lesson? I don't know about you, Val, but I find sometimes I'm able to walk away from it, but I find it very hard not to get protective and not want them to go through that again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at first you get very protective and you try to calmly, explain to them what you see. And you've heard it so many times. Someone who's inside a box can't see what's going on, but people on the outside can see what all's going on. But, a lot of times I've noticed that you can talk and talk and talk to that person, but unless they want to see what's going on, they're not going to listen to you. Or, they'll say, yeah, I know. I know. You're right. You're right. Whatever. But I'm going to stay in it. And you and it's the hardest thing ever to step back and let them have that lesson themselves.
And that's something I have learned, is to step back more. I will step back a lot, and then something might bring me out and I'll be like, have that. But I will step back more. I will walk away easier now than I ever did before, and I will step back. Excuse me. And the other thing I wanted to mention is we've obviously given lessons to people as well. Let's be honest. We've sure taught people some lessons, I guess, in our life. I know. Of course,
a lot of them will never admit it, but never admit that you're right. But
but you and I have both taught people lessons, right?
Yeah.
And not always good ones. I mean, I speak from my own past, but I've hurt people in my life too. Broken a few hearts along the way, not because I set out to do it,
no,
or it was planned, but it happened, and I faced my demon right in their face and stood up for what I did, and took it on full Monty, because that's what you do.
Yeah,
if you fuck up and you make a mistake or you hurt someone, be a woman or be a man and face up to it.
But see, most people won't do that.
Yeah.
And I think for myself, I've started just kind of, the older I get, the more responsibility I take. If I do something, if I fuck up something, I'm the first one to admit and apologize. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like I should, if I hurt you and I didn't realize it, please bring it to my attention so I can apologize for it. If I do something on purpose that I know, I'll probably get called out for it. But I feel like a lot of people, don't mean to hurt people, but depending on how the other person takes it.
Well, we're all sort of sponges, aren't we? We're all walking like Velcro, and some things attach to us and other things we attach to other people. And that's where I wanted to look at the attachment, how everyone has a different attachment.
Right.
And for me, what is my attachment style? Because why, like with the friends and getting the glasses on so I can actually see. With our attachment style, when I pick the same sort of friend over and over again, why am I doing that? What is my common denominator that with these kind of people that feel so familiar that I'm going, come back and do it again. So, and also our attachment styles shows us how we deal with the lessons. Because, when you see someone and you think, but they're such a strong person, how the hell can this be knocking them sideways? It's because of their attachment style and how.
Right.
And so, do I have a secure attachment style? Do I have an anxious one? Do I have an avoidant, dismissive, or do I have a disorganized, fearful one? And I think sometimes the truth is we probably have a bit of all of them.
Sure.
And we learn different styles of attachment. But the other thing I've learned as well, this is going to sound awful, I have very good friends in my life that I trust, and they're on, as I say, a few fingers. There are other people in my life that are associates, someone you talk to now and then, pass the, shoot the shit, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then you have the other ones where you're like, all right, from time to time. There are people out there that I would expect to have a better relationship with, that I have asked to have a better relationship with, but yet they're not able to give me that because something in them doesn't. And maybe that's my attachment. I love these people. I want them in my life. So I want to bring them closer to me, but they're like, no, this is all I can do as a friend. And I think sometimes we don't realize that as well.
Well, it's easy to think that everybody feels the same way we do.
Yeah.
And it's totally false, of course, but, nobody is going to feel the same way about somebody that I do. You know what I'm saying? And you rarely find people that feel the same way about you that you do about them. It's very rare.
If there's a gas ring, gas thing on where you're cooking and it's on and you put your hand over it and it hurts, you get burnt, right? How many times do you have to keep going back, putting your hand over that rink before you actually learn the fucking lesson, right? Because if a dog, there was a study years ago. They would get dogs and they would make loud noises. And what the idea was is that before they even made the noise, they did a movement and the dog was like terrified because it had been trained and shown before that even happened. And that's what I'm saying is human beings. We become who we are because of what we've seen and what we've been through. And we can all sit here and do the spiel of blah, 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 but everyone's different and never know what's going on and all that malarkey. But at the end of the day, I have hurt people in my life, as I said, not deliberately. And I took responsibility for that. And I faced them. And I think that cleared quite a bit of karma between us. But at the end of the day, I would say I have predominantly got more hurt than I actually have hurt because I'm not a person like that. I'm a giver. I'm a giver in a friendship. I'm a giver in a relationship. I find it very hard to accept. I find it very hard to without thinking, really, you want to? Why do you want to? I'm more like, oh, have this. I gave everyone, it's a story. I gave my car to Sparky this year and said, take it. She don't just really knew me. Take my car, get you home safe. Never even stopped to think, well, she could run off and never come back. But I think you have to learn. And it's like, I've watched people go through it right now. And also it's like how many times you got to stick your hand in the fucking flame before you realize it ain't working. You're burning. That lesson keeps teaching you. And I find it so frustrating.
But I think
friendship-wise, that's what happened.
In one case, in certain cases, I think we are kind of, they'll turn the stove on and we'll turn it off and try to warn them, you're going to get burnt. You're going to get burnt. And it takes them getting burnt to realize, oh, that's what you meant.
But some of them want to get burnt. They absolutely want to get burnt. They
absolutely.
Go back again because they're addicted. It's almost like, but I can't stop myself. I know, but I can't stop myself. And I was in an abusive relationship for 4.5 years and I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of that relationship with every fiber of my being, but I love them. I fucking hate those 3 words. I
can change them.
I remember the good about them. There's a good side to them. The fact that they throw you against the wall, or they put their hands down your throat, or they abuse you mentally and emotionally, or they turn into a complete nightmare. You still go back for more and go, yeah, but I love them. I love you are some of the most powerful words, good and also bad. And they're used by people to manipulate you. But I love you. What makes you think you love me?
But another thing I think that can make us want to go back and not give in to that I failed is, the embarrassment.
Yep.
I didn't want anybody to know what I was going through. And to this day, not everybody knows what I went through. Because it's not flattering to me. I feel very embarrassed and foolish because I allowed things to happen for so long. Before I grew a backbone and did what I knew I had to do. I am proud that I did eventually, but 12 years went by before I did. And it's one of those things that you don't want people to know what really happened because it is embarrassing because you allowed it to happen to you.
I wasn't embarrassed about, I didn't find it embarrassing. What I felt was I was so lost in it that I couldn't find my way out. I wanted out.
Yeah.
I wanted out, but I couldn't find my way out. And because I felt if I do this, it was a lot of mental torture. And I look back and think, well, fuck, did I learn a lot of lessons in those 4.5 years? And it's changed me forever. Like I only have to hear that person's name and it brings up all those kind of feelings. But at the same time, I grew from it as well. He taught me lots of lessons. I probably wouldn't have got on a plane to Canada had I not had that. But the other thing, do you know what I hate? And I'm going to bring Michael in a minute to join us, is when someone turns around and goes, see, you knew you could get through it. It's shown you how strong you are. See, and I just think, fuck off, right?
That's when you take your hand and like this.
It's like, it is not your job to turn around and say those things, but you knew you could do it. See, you were strong enough to get, fuck off. Because end of the day, I don't need that. You don't need that. When you're going through the darkest times, that's when you need someone to be there for you, because it can be incredibly dark, and just having someone sit with you in the darkness or go through it with you, or just say, I'm here if you need me, and they actually pick the phone up.
But the thing is, it's not over when it's over. You get my, when you finally have the strength to leave, it's not over. It takes years to untrain, just like the dog you were talking about. If for years after the fact, if someone made the slightest gesture or, that was the same, you flinch.
Yeah.
If someone says something, you get ready, you steel yourself for what you think's going to happen because it's happened so many times. So it takes so long to retrain your brain.
And yet with a friend or a partner, we give them more chances to do it. I mean, I remember the day I left, and my God, I learned so many lessons. And I see people going through it now. Like I live near a roundabout, and the shops everywhere, and there's always arguments going on outside. And I see couples out there, and they're screaming at each other in their face, and one, one of them's crying, whether it's the guy or female. And I just think, God, I wasted 4.5 years of my life on somebody that I wouldn't even give them the time of day now. And my God, what was it about me at that point in my life that I had to learn that lesson? Where did I turn around and say to myself, you know what, Wendy, you come out of your marriage, and you know what, he was a good man. Let's just go with a total bastard for 4.5 years, because you need to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, and this is the way I deal with everything in my past. If everything that happened had never happened, I would not be right where I'm at today.
Well, some of
and I would not feel the same way, and I wouldn't be as strong as I am today. So I'm almost thankful for everything that's happened to me in the past, as hard as it was to deal with and to get through, because it made me who I am today.
Yeah.
Michael, you've been backstage. Nice to see you, honey. What's your take on some of the things we've been chatting about?
Oh, well, there's a lot to unpack, and the setback a lot of times, and I'll get messages. I say, "Oh, you coming on?" I was like, I'm back here taking my notes. I said, I watched the chat for the first hour, and it kind of makes sure people play nice, and I feel like crap. But like I said, I made a promise, and and Wendy knows this. I told her, I said, if one of y'all are here on Sunday, I will be here if I got to drag myself in front of this laptop. And that's what I
did drag myself in front of the laptop.
I did. Dave saw me about 15 minutes before I came on, and he's like, "You need to get your shit together." Dave's a buddy. You know what I'm saying? And and I think like I said, a lot to unpack from an hour. But the last one you did, you have to be, what is it? They reteach taught behavior.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. In the Army, we call that retraining. Oh, you didn't get it the first time, so we got to retrain you so you can get with it. And
but it's hard to retrain yourself what someone else taught you.
Exactly. It's pardon me, I got a tag here. New shirt. But anyway, and it is, yeah, like I said, I should have learned to get the tags up before I put the shirts on.
What you're talking about, Michael, explain that a bit more.
Like growing up, I saw a pattern with my dad. Like I said, both my parents are gone, so I can speak freely. Opinion. There's not that many family that's left that I really give a fuck about. The ones that I do know, and the ones that I don't care for, they also know. There's no middle ground, and some of the family that, and it's like friends. I've got some family I'm close to, and they'll tell you, that's my guy. He will carry my secrets to the grave. They won't beat it out of him. And that's the reputation I have. And there's other people that have fucked me over in the past. I'm thinking, motherfucker, I know where all the bodies are buried. You really want to fuck me over? And they're so stupid. They think they're untouchable. And like the other morning, when we had a conversation, and me and you was talking, and you're like, Am I a horrible person? I was like, fuck no. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning my time because I have PTSD. I never sleep. I look at the clock. I was like, oh, 5 o'clock my time, 10 o'clock her time. She's probably up. Let me give Wendy a call. You know what I'm saying? And I told her, I said, people come into your lives for a reason or a season, and sometimes, and that's what I told her about the car. I said, a lot of people get close to you because of the cars, the Comic-Con. They're using you, so that don't make you a horrible person. It makes them a prick or a bitch or whatever you want to call them. You know what I'm saying? A bastard. Because they're trying to get ahead by abusing your goodwill and your friendship. And I saw that. And I have seen a lot more of that with women on other women. They talk about blue on blue or whatever. But the tearing down of women on women that I see, it blows my mind. Like the nursing profession. I was married to 2 nurses, and they got a saying in their profession: they eat their young. A young nurse comes in, and the older nurses that have been on the floor for a long time are horrific to these younger ladies. And like, well, she don't know shit. Well, goddamn, teach her. Me and my ex-wife, then, quicks you take up for one, then you're the bastard. I'm like, you talk about you don't have enough help, but you're running them off. They get in 10, they run off 12. I'm like, that don't make no sense. And the reason I say that is I've got a really good friend. I'm not going to throw her name out, but here a while back, I was supposed to go over to her Halloween party with her and her boyfriend. Her female friend's like, me and my boyfriend thinks your current boyfriend needs to know how close you and Michael are. That's not right. But she was unhappy in her relationship. So she was going to basically torpedo her girlfriend's healthy relationship because she's friends with a man that lives 2 hours away that has been there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, misery loves company, right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking. And, and what started it?
What is one of the toughest lessons that you've learned?
You cannot trust everybody you meet. And everybody don't have the same morals or mentality that you have in life. And one of the toughest lessons I learned, and I will tell, the one I got here at the house now, because the other 2 can fuck off. But my kids is, everybody has an agenda, either good or bad. Their agenda could be to help people and help, drag people out of the darkness. Or it could be an agenda just to fuck everybody over they meet. And it's like, just pull. My mom used to call these people psychic vampires.
Yeah.
They just take from you. They want your energy. They want your time. Any kind of financial means they can pull from you, they will. And another thing I've learned is the little things in life sometimes mean the most when somebody's down. I was having a really shit day the other day. Like I said, I've been sick. I've been up and down. Aunt Carlene checks on me all the time. Bless her heart. She ain't doing well. Dave checks on me. And they're like, you need to go get that checked out. I was like, well, I'm trying. But, I went to the mailbox and I got a letter that said express overnight mail. And I'm thinking, fuck me. Somebody wants money. Then I looked at it and it said moon pig. It clicks, it said moon pig. He was like, my whole day got better. I'm like, holy shit. As you can see, I got my little card out of moon pig. And I thought, it is the little things. I'm such an idiot. When I sent her card to her, I had to call. It's like, is this the right address? I don't want to be an idiot,
But being in the army, right? You must have learned some very tough lessons.
Yeah.
And what was one of the lessons you learned? And without going into the whole army thing, but what was one of the lessons that you learned in there that has still stayed with you?
If you're on time, you're late. I cannot stand it when people they do not have the wherewithal, and Jason can probably back me up on this. If you have to be somewhere, it's better to be 30 minutes early than 5 minutes late. And it just really, and I also learned that through life you can get really close with a bunch of guys and girls that you trauma bond with. trauma will make you brothers and sisters forever.
Let me just come back to that. What was the lesson?
That, when, well, punctuality was one, but the other one was how close you can get with people that have been through the same trauma as you. If you go through it together, that is an unbreakable bond.
Do you find that that lesson is still with people in your private life?
Oh yeah, It's
the reason I'm throwing these at you, because obviously with time, but it's like, do you think that you've taught people lessons?
Oh yeah, good and bad.
And how do you feel about
that? Sometimes I think it was lessons that they deserved to be taught. Some of it, was maybe unintentional, and some of it, I'm not going to say was vindictive, but you think, I've had enough of this shit. It's time to put a stop to this. And sometimes it went on, and everybody has been selfish in their life. And sometimes, I'm older now. I forget what you said about the age, about, just because, we're all similar, what I'm saying? But at 50 plus, I've learned, sometimes it don't pay to be a selfish bastard. You know what I'm saying?
You heard Val and I talking about how we have picked in our relationships the same sort of guy and pattern.
Oh yeah.
We learned, but obviously we did. But with our friends too.
Yeah.
Did you find that? How many lessons did you have to learn before you went, actually, I don't want to learn that lesson anymore when it came to relationships?
A lot of the friends that I have, I guess I was still coming out of the Army. I was still looking for somebody to take care of, to give guidance, to give knowledge, to kind of help them, move on in their life instead of moving on with a career in the Army. And I still, there's a bunch of the young ones that still come by, and I'll be like, and some of them still in the Army. Jason, they had one pop in, and I said, this is out of my wheelhouse. Let me call somebody else, or whatever. And, and it's like that teaching thing that I still have brought home that I still like to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can kind of move them in the right direction, and you kind of feel good through their achievements because you're like, hey, I had a hand in that. It kind of makes you feel kind of to mold and push out.
Can I pick up a point there? So what you're saying in you is their need to help someone.
Yeah.
There is a need in you to help someone, and
yeah.
people have come into your life on a personal level, and you feel as a person more fulfilled when you are helping someone, and yet when those people, because I know they have, because obviously you and I are quite well, when those people have turned around and let you down and betrayed you, does that make you feel like you can't do that again?
Yes and no. It's same reason I married a nurse twice. I'm a slow learner. You know what I'm saying? Is my mom used to say, look, it's Michael Build-A-Bitch over here. You know what I'm saying? He said I'm like, you pick them up, you put them through nursing school, next thing you know, you're divorced. And it's like, holy shit, paid for another round. And I'm like, but I've learned better now. If I'm going to pour that kind of, we're not the younger guys that's coming up in the Army. I still know a lot of them. They're still like little brothers that you got to kick around from time to time. And the benefit now is there's no chain of command that stops me from hitting them. So if I see them keep fucking up, you can't go hands on.
Yeah, but
they are younger and a lot of bigger.
Had in the Army very different. I want to look at the people in your personal life now. The Army to one side. Because in the Army, it's a very different kind of relationship because of what you go through, because of what you share. But in your personal life, as a guy, normal guy, do you find that some part of you has gone, I've given and given to family and to loved ones, and they've stabbed me in the back, and it's like, I learned that lesson. I'm not going to do it anymore. Do you think that's happened? Because some people can't seem to switch that button off.
Like I said, it took a lot, and you saw that with me because, like with the kids. And I tell people, one stole my truck and the other one put my obituary online. And the only one I have left here is Michael Allen. And everybody's like, you take up for him. I was like, well, goddamn, I got one out of three ain't bad. And everybody's like, oh, you just going to turn your back? I was like, no. I said, anybody that knows the thing that happened with James in the truck, I'm like, I put my name on the line, got him jobs. I put my name out there, and did all of this stuff. And a lot of times people give him a break just because of who his dad was. And what did he do? He turned around and shit on him and shit on me. So I told him, I said, I didn't turn my back on nobody. He chose not to take the guidance. And when we was talking about the Army stuff, like I said, in my personal life, I still have a lot of the guys that are in National Guard, Reserve, or whatever will call me for guidance. So, even though that I'm done with it, I still carry that knowledge. And I'm not going to be a selfish bastard when it comes to that knowledge. So my personal life still, and Jason could probably contest to that, just because you're out, don't mean them ties are broke. And, I got friends that I made in the Army that I still talk to that are out, that are like brothers that I'm still talk to probably three days a week. And, but like I said, it's that really tight bond. And
because
I have seen
different kind of relationship.
It's more trusting.
If you look at a friendship, and I'm using this as a lesson learned. So when you're young, and I'm using this example, I'm sure everybody else can appreciate. When you're young, you're in the playground and you have mates and you're all playing with them. And then all of a sudden, maybe someone new comes in or whatever, but they don't want to be your friends anymore. They want to go and play with somebody else, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, hang on a minute. I was the one that brought you into this, and I was watching a program yesterday, and it was a really good topic, and I'm trying to bring it in, but it was like, what happens when you're the friend that brought everyone together, and that friend takes off everyone from you, right? And you must, it changes you. I'm not saying that happened to me. I'm not saying, I'm using that example, but it's like, as human beings, well, this happened to me, so this is why I respond to this. I learned that lesson, so now I've got a wall up. Now I don't get involved emotionally so much. How are we allowing those lessons to control us, Val?
I think to a certain degree. I think we may get over that to a certain point, but it's always in the back of your mind.
I just thought of something, and this probably going people's going to throw rocks at me anyway. But I think a lot of times, and I saw this in the Army and in my personal life, a lot of times women, like I said, women are meaner to, and it's like you'll see a group of women together, then they'll bring a new girl in, and next thing you know, she takes over the whole group, and like you said, the one that brings her in is kicked out. And I'm thinking, you see all these shows that's called like Mean Girls or whatever. You don't never see a show that it's called Mean Guys, because guys, that's another.
It does happen with guys too, though. I've seen it happen with guys.
I was wondering what the, what I'm saying, that the ratio is like.
Women and men, obviously, we have very different attachment styles.
Yeah.
And we have very different relationships sometimes. Women tend to be very, we're always on the phone chatting, or we're doing this, what do you think about this, and all of that. Women very much more intense, perhaps more intense, involved relationships. Guys, yes, can do, but also, and then you have your, like, as a woman, having guy friends. So I have a lot of guy friends, and I have great relationships where I can chat away to some of them, and they shoot the shit, Michael being one of them. You shoot the shit and they put you right about a lot of things. But what I don't do, and it's something that I wouldn't take from a relationship, Val, I'm not going to take it from family, and I'm certainly not going to take it from, is wishy-washy, right?
Yeah.
You're in or you're out. You're either consistent or you're not. I don't do in between. And I think that when you realize that, I think, as you're right, using the comic, and I'm using the Comic Con as an example, when you go to a Comic Con, It's full of people dressed as their idols. They're Batman, Supergirl, all that kind of stuff. They're dressed being Winchester, using that. They're all got this because they want to be those people. They want to be those people. Because something, either they identify with them or something in their life is so, perhaps they fulfill them by being this character. And I've seen people be ripped apart for what they're wearing. Did you see what she was wearing? Did you see what they were wearing? Oh my God, look at the state of it. There's a lot of jealousy and there's a lot of tearing each other down. And you talked about women just then tearing each other down. I've seen it happen and you're not saying we're not all bad at it, but it's like, it's like, for instance, when do we learn to deal with things differently and handle it differently? Because sometimes something happens to us, Val, and it triggers something, doesn't it? It brings back that old demon, and sometimes we're triggered and we go, or we might react to it. Other times we're like, growing out of that. I speak from all different kinds of roles right now, but I look at the Comic-Con world and see how bitchy but also supportive it is as well. Like lots of support, but there's a lot of bitchiness there too. And it's a shame, because at the end of the day, this person might have worked a long time on their costume. They might have made a big effort and someone has ripped it apart, and that will damage that person unless they just don't give a shit.
But like I said, most of them have something, and they put all their effort into it. They do it to the best of their ability. Then you have somebody come through and say, "Oh, look at that! That's a load of horse turds." I cannot.
But I think a lot of times, women are, like you said, jealous, and they want to be, top dog. They want to be the headline. They want to be the spotlight. And when someone does something, even if it's just a little bit better, and even it could be better in their own mind. Yeah. And they think, oh, they're getting more attention than me, or whatever. You get that bitchy, catty, jealous, I have to destroy this because it's better than mine.
Jason just said the pinup world is under the radar brutal. Any pageant or any time that you dress up, and like I said, this is wicked women. So, like I said, I have seen some of the guys that bitch and are really jealous, but most of the time I see a lot more jealousy coming from the female side, and it's like, I can't believe she's doing that. All her boobs are hanging out, her ass is hanging out. I'd never do that. You turn around 2 weeks later and you see the bitch wearing the same thing that she was just calling this other girl out on, because
it's called jealousy.
Because she don't get the attention.
Do you remember that film, Single White Female?
Oh yeah. She wanted the husband and all that.
She turned into exactly looking like her friend and everything like that. I think you're right. People come into our lives for lots of different reasons, seasons, lifetime.
Yeah.
Some of the toughest lessons I've learned have come from family. And family is the hardest lesson to learn, because you're born into this relationship. You're born into this kin. And as family, you would think that you're thick and thin through each other. You're there for each other, whether this be mum, dad, brother, sister, cousin, nephews, nieces, whatever. I have discovered in my life that is not a case in family. And sometimes it is the most loneliest place to be. And the toughest lessons have come from family who we never expected it to come from. And then you sort of question, why has this happened? Why has this happened? And you're right, jealousy, insecurity, feeling like the odd one out, and therefore that damages us as a person. And then we go on to have a relationship with someone, and we've learned, I always said I never wanted to date my dad. I fucking did, didn't I? I dated quite a few of him. And
I think a lot of us go for men that are like our fathers, good or bad. And it's because that's what we're so used to. That's what we are, we're so used to that behavior that it's familiar, and we don't know what to do with someone who doesn't act that way.
No, but you talking about family. I come to expect it from a lot of my family. If they don't try to fuck somebody over, I'm surprised.
Wow.
And everybody's like, "Oh, that's brutal. That's harsh. That's whatever." It's facts. It's And there's an old saying that I've told my kids this, and I've told other: be wary of your family. They will fuck you first, because they think they're close enough that they can get away with. And even if you're the baddest person on the planet and have a reputation for handling business, they think, "Oh, I can fuck them over because they won't do to me what they'd do to a stranger." You know what? I used to hold back for a long time. Not no more. There's one that if he threatens my kids again over some land, he's going to open Pandora's box, and I've let it be known. I was like,
well, that's why they say never go into business or loan money to family.
Oh, hell no. And there's another saying: if you want to know if a motherfucker is truly your friend, lend them $20. Cheap lesson learned.
Yeah, but
and it's like,
I try and play because
devil's
I see it from both sides of our advocate as well. But it's like, if you have a relationship where you communicate clearly, and you're open with each other, you would think I had an amazing relationship with someone for 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
And very open, clear communication, very open, to the point that they knew everything about me. There's not one thing that person did not know.
Yeah.
In fact, they could rip me apart quite easily because of what they knew.
It's one that knows where the bodies are buried. The ones that should be.
And it's like, trust is everything in a relationship. And the thing about me, I look back and I think, fuck, what lesson did I learn from this?
But
what lesson am I learning from bringing people into my life, being friendly, being open, but also I'm keeping a bit of a distance. I do keep a bit more of a distance, but when do you like, how long does someone have to be in your life before you go, well, I can trust you? You're not going to burn me like someone else. And so many people that are watching this or listening to it will say, when I meet someone else, yeah, but I've been hurt before, and I've been let down before, and I've been burnt before, so I don't let anyone in now. And what happens is they're stopping themselves from bringing someone wonderful into their life, or a new friend that could make a difference. When do we learn that lesson? Look at it and go, yep, learn from that now. I'm okay with it. Do we ever learn from it? Do we ever become okay with it, Val?
I think we learn certain things about it, but we also, in the back of our mind, think, well, this might be different. This might not be the same thing. And it ends up, either exactly the same and we go through the whole thing again, or we catch it in time and realize the signs, that, it's the same thing. And then we're able to deal with it and cut it off early.
Well, what was one of the toughest lessons you gave someone?
Gosh. Probably that I meant what I said and I was done when I said I was done.
What do you think that why was that the toughest?
Because I tried so hard for so many years to do the impossible, and it just didn't work. And I finally had to realize, I realized that I had to be honest with myself that what I wanted was never going to happen.
But what lesson did you teach them?
That I meant what I said.
And up to that point, they didn't believe you?
Of course not. Because up to that point, it was, okay, I'm leaving. They were able to talk me back. But when I come to that I'm done point, that was it. Mm-hmm. So it took them a while to realize, okay, maybe she's telling the truth. Because, yeah, that's once I've tried everything in my power to make things work, then I'm done. I have nothing left.
How everything gets bigger and bigger, doesn't it? Like sometimes that elastic band is really stretching. Michael, without going into major difficult thing, what is one of the toughest lessons you've given someone?
A broke jaw. That's what I'm saying. Some people always want to go through life bullying people, and they think because they're big and they're mean and they're loud that they can just overrun everybody. And sooner or later, you run into somebody that's just as mean as you are. And like I said, that was a lesson. And I actually heard later that was a very well taught lesson.
And you feel that's the toughest one you've given in your life?
Yeah. Physically, yeah.
What about mentally?
Had an next one. I told her, I gave her an ultimatum. And by like Val, I'm like, it's either this or this. And I think I've
focus, Michael.
Yeah, and she said, "Oh no, you'll never do it." I was like, and I packed her bags for her, and she basically let her,
Did you think we were just going to keep taking?
Yeah, but it was a substance issue, and her being a nurse, and at the time, my career, I'm not having that around me, and I told her, I said, it's either rehab or divorce. Oh, now come on, let's just go on together. No, but pretty woman, made good money, you know what I'm saying? Great partner. And she thought I would not draw that hard line in the sand and say, look, it's either this or this. Because like Val said, they have talked you down and like, oh, what can, let me do this. No.
After you give in so many times,
and
they feel like no matter what they do, you're going to give in again.
But they don't respect you either because they keep pushing you.
Gaslighting and trying to manipulate the situation.
I'm trying to think of the hardest lesson that I've given to somebody. I would probably say there was a time in my life where I was a very different person and I was quite insecure. And a situation arose and I had to hurt someone, and not physically. And I don't think that's ever sat right with me since. And I probably taught them a very painful lesson. And I'm a big enough person to admit that. And years later, I faced them and said to them, well, here I am right in front of you. I faced my demons. But I think, yes, you could say there were circumstances and situations that arose of why that situation happened. But I think one thing I've learned is that when it comes to some people, it doesn't matter whether you're friends, best friends, partners, lovers, family. There are no lessons that are out of bounds. It doesn't matter who the person's giving it to you and teaching you it. It's like, ow, I didn't expect to hear that from them. We have this, perhaps is the wrong word to use, expectation, but we have this view that someone we love and are close to are not going to hurt us and not going to teach us that lesson. And when we're all aware of a situation in life where you see someone going through something and they're getting hurt again and again, and they're allowing themselves to get hurt again and again. And it's now infecting other members of their life, family, etc., friends. And when your lesson is no longer hurting you, but now spreading out to those that are around you, you need to take a step back and go, oh, hang on a minute. It's not just me it's affecting now. It's affecting other people. I need to learn from this. And I think that when I was in that abusive relationship, my family said to me at the point, we're just waiting for the phone call for us to actually, something's happened to Wendy. And then by then it's like, hopefully that would have that would be the lesson that you needed to get out of it. And it would it have been, I don't know, but in the end it took every ounce of strength to get out of that situation. And I learned many lessons in that. And Val, I bet you can. Humiliation, that was a big lesson. I learned humiliation. Disrespect, I learned disrespect quite easy. Fear, I really learned how to fear someone. Disbelief and disillusionment in someone. Loyalty, I was really taught about loyalty in that one, and also to doubt my own mind. They took me to a very dark place in my mind where I didn't know, like Val, I'm sure you can relate to this, where they were right and I was wrong, because I had put so much of myself into that person and into that relationship that everyone else was like, but Wendy, we can see it. And family could see it, and my friends could see it. I could see it, but I was just like, but it's amazing those words come up, isn't it?
Don't believe your own line, and I see that a lot.
But even when you can see it, you still in your mind think you can change it.
Yeah.
But I give a lot of praise to my daughters, because they brought me out of a whole lot. In certain things, I don't think I saw everything that was happening to myself until certain things started happening to them. And I can take things, and it doesn't seem as important if it's happening to me. Excuse me. But when something or someone does something to my daughters, it's not okay.
It's game wrong, ain't it?
And I honestly, and I've been this way a long time. Someone could say something about me or to me or whatever, and I'm very good at just brushing it off. But if they said the exact same thing to one of my daughters, I'm fighting that.
That's like that saying, isn't it? Say what you like about me, but if you say anything about my dog, then you'll see all kinds of hell.
Oh, yeah.
Because we tend to protect the innocent, don't we?
It's that I can say whatever I want to about my family, but you can't.
Yeah, it's.
I think it's also the shock of like looking back when I gave the lesson. I was actually amazed that that actually happened, because that's not who I am. That is not who I am as a person. And I have beaten myself up over it many, many years. It haunted me for years, until I got the chance to face that person, have that conversation and clear the decks. And I think sometimes what happens when we don't have that opportunity to clear the decks, we don't have the opportunity to say to that person, we have to live with it. And there's a situation I certainly find myself in right now with somebody very, very important in my life, that I don't have that opportunity to have that conversation with them, and I have to live with that every day. And it doesn't get easier. You think it would get easier, it doesn't. It gets harder. And one thing I've learned, another lesson I've learned, people aren't there for you. Val came up with it early on, but it's like, people aren't really there for you. They say they're going to be there, including me, and we're always guilty of it.
We all are.
There, and we're not. And that moment that we're not there is the moment that person could need us the most. They could be sitting there with a razor blade by their arm, about to drive off a cliff, and we weren't there for them at that moment. And then, you know, and I've known people that's happened to. Why didn't I take that call? That was the last call that person made. We've all made those mistakes because we're human, we're busy, we're doing things, blah, 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 blah. But it's true. We say, ring me any time of night or day. I'm going to be there for you. It's bullshit. And I think we need to say that to, you know, call me. And I'm, you know, just call me. If I can, I'm there. If I'm not, then, you know, we need to be very honest about what we can give as a person and what we can't give as a person. I can give you this, because we shouldn't live in hope. That's for sure.
No, yeah, but you also, it's not only I physically, you know, like I can't physically be there for you. But we have to, you know, they have to understand that, you know, I may not be able to be there completely mentally for you either.
Yeah.
You know, because I've got my own shit going on. and a lot of times, you know, the people that are calling don't realize what the people they are calling is going through. They might be worse off than you are.
That's true. That's true, because you and I have been there, and I see that point of view. But also, if you know that someone is going through, I mean, you may not know they're going through a tough time, but if you do know they're going through a tough time and you're aware of it, then that person calls. It might not be a convenient time to call them. You might be driving, sitting on the toilet, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That might not be the time. That person, and like we all have and this is the truest lesson I've learned in life, people aren't, we try to be there, but the truth is we can't always be there.
Right.
And life is full of tough lessons for us to learn. That's how we grow. That's how we change. That's how our relationships develop. But some lessons, Val, I wish I hadn't gone through. I wish I could go back and change them, because I don't like how they've made me. I don't get me wrong. I love who I am now, and I'm happy in my own skin. Don't get me wrong, I am. But I wish I never went through them. I wish I hadn't given 4.5 years to someone who was abusive, and, you know, it wasn't worth the 4 years of my life.
But you have to think about it. You can't go back and change it.
No.
So you have to look at the bright side of it. It's gone. It's done.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing you can do to change it. So take those 4.5 years as a lesson and don't do it again.
But I did.
Yeah.
This is what I'm
but
saying.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you can't live wishing that had never happened to you, because it did. It's over with, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it except take the lesson and use it.
That goes back to the unteaching.
Hands up, everybody in this room who's had the lesson again. Honestly, who's done the same thing?
We've all had lessons over and over.
So,
but eventually you take that lesson and you use it.
Some people are slow.
And you may have that scar from the stove. You may have that scar, but eventually it gets tough enough to where it doesn't burn you anymore.
I think it's where Michael is saying that's where people stop being friendly, why people stop giving to people, why people stop being so open. And because they go, I've been shit on, and I'm using this as in general, not as in me, but you hear a lot of people say, I'm never doing that again. I'm not going to be so open. I'm not going to be so friendly. I am saying no. And I understand why, because they've been dealt some shitty hands. And it's like, I don't know anyone who can sit here and say they've not had shit happen to them, because we've all had. But some people generally are fragile creatures on this planet. Their mental health can only take so much. Their physical health can only take so much. And if you meet someone, or someone comes into your life and you know that this person has issues, whether it's physical, mental, and emotional, surely, and Val brings up a very good point about narcissistic and empaths. They seem to seek you out and suck you dry, and they go, what's your problem? Right?
Because your energy makes them feel better.
Yeah.
It may leave you empty and feeling drained, but they feel better. And that's why they seek us out, because our energy heals them.
Yeah.
And it's not always a bad thing. But to certain people, like the narcissistic people that continuously seek us out just for their own benefit.
I don't think having a narcissistic in our life at any time is a good thing, because, and they're a new word, because back in the 70s, what did we call narcissists?
Assholes.
Well, we'd call them blood sucking, like, they are
psychic vampire. Yeah.
Now we've got words like gaslighting, ghosting, narcissistic. Basically, this person are just arseholes. They are out for their own good, and they will suck someone dry. And when they've got what they've wanted, they'll fuck off, whether that's the car, the marriage, the kids, the relationship.
And if you realize what they're doing before they're done, they will do everything in their power to keep you from leaving.
Yeah.
Until they get what they need.
Until they get until they're finished.
Yeah.
And when they're finished with you, you can fuck off. But until then, they're not finished, and they will do absolutely anything in their power to keep you.
How do you know? Because we've all been with narcissists, we've all dated them, we've either lived with them or married them, we've all been with them. Why are we drawn to someone like that when we don't want to go through that again?
Because we think we can fix them. We honestly believe that we can change them, we can fix them.
But we've learned from the previous partner that we can't.
But it's a different person.
It's a new project. It's
something we need. We have that need to help people. And when narcissistic people come around, they act like, for me, I can't do this on my own. I need your help. And that's what we're for. We're all for helping people.
Yeah. I was going to say, speaking of assholes, if Wendy don't say hi to Roberto Pitts, he'll probably be upset and mad. He come in late, so he's
can wait. He can wait.
He can wait.
He can wait. The thing is, this, when we talked about the toughest lessons, the other thing I want to talk about is death. Death teaches us tough lessons.
Yeah.
We talk about relationships all the time and what lessons we learned from people, etc. But death teaches us tough lessons too. How somebody died and we didn't get to say the things that we should have done, or we didn't have that conversation with them, and we're left with that horrible space between us of, well, I'll never get to say it now. And I think that's a lesson that we should all take, that none of us know how long we've got here, and never put off today. If you can, say what you need to tell someone, I love you, or whatever, whether it's bad or good, you need to tell them, because Michael, you've been there in that situation where
And I took your advice, and he's like, get it off your chest. Don't carry it with you because it's final. That's one lesson that I can take that I have seen from loss of grandparents, loss of parents, people that I served with. And a lot of times it is sudden for a lot of the guys, 22 a day is a real number. And you see them, and sometimes, uh, and I beat myself up over one in particular that we lost here that was local. And, but now I know that probably wasn't nothing I could do, but that was a lesson that I had to learn. That was a hard lesson because they said the reason that nobody knew that it was going to happen is because he'd already made a plan and had put all the tools in place to fulfill his plan to himself. So once it gets to that point, it's very hard for even a trained professional to detect. So that's one of the lessons that I learned. As much as I'm upset about it, there's nothing that any of us could really have done to prevent that because.
Well, that's one thing you automatically say. What if I had done this? What if I had done that? Would it change the outcome?
Yeah, and it's like, and a lot of times during the course of a weekend, you'd be assholes and elbows, busy, and I have learned to slow down sometimes and ask people. And and like I said, that's one of the last ones. But like I said, with my dad, I went down and true to form, prick to the end. It was like I'm like, I just really need to tell you this, and he's like, just kind of, just wouldn't even look at me or acknowledge I was there. But quick as the little nurse came in, oh no, there's my sweetheart. I thought, you cantankerous old bastard. You won't give me any closure, but you're gonna.
How did that make you feel?
I did my part. And I got it on my chest. If he had anything to say before he left here, he could have said it, but he didn't. My mom she had a stroke. So, I remember the last conversation I had with her and she told me, go home and be good. I said, well, hell, you be good. My mom knew that there probably wasn't very small chance of me going home and behave myself. But with my dad, had a little more time. That was, and I thought, maybe we can atone for, some of the things that, that either he music or whatever, but no, true to form, all the way to the end. But you know what? I got what I had to say off my chest, and I don't know. I'm good with it. Yeah.
I think one thing I've learned is actually I don't care as much.
No.
I've learned to switch off and not care as much.
Oh yeah.
And I think that comes with age, and I think it also comes with experience. You don't react to things. There are only a few things in my life that can make me feel that off the cliff. But I think I've learned to just, I don't care anymore. And the trouble is, it's made me too much like that, where I don't care, and I will just go, done, move on. And
I can emotionally what do you call it? Emotionally detach really quick.
I think that, I don't know if that's the word I'd use, but it's a very good one to use, because it does make you like that, doesn't it, Val? It makes you feel like we're so desensitized. We see so much desensitized from TV. And I use this as an example, not to get in political, because we don't do political on Wiki Women, but you see people killed on the news or telly, and it's like, we've seen worse in films. We are so desensitized to people suffering, to situations, that we're used to it.
Well, I think that's why it takes something very close to home.
Yeah.
To make it within our circle, to make us, sympathize with them or empathize with them, or, even be able to speak about it. It takes something, within our circle, because, we see it every day and worse. And like you said, we're so desensitized to things that, you know, it's almost like if it doesn't happen to us or within our bubble, it didn't happen.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just like watching it on TV. So it's.
I mean, Barbara comes up with a good point. She says, "I understand because I stopped caring a long time ago." And the worst thing is, you know, and I sit here and I don't even like saying this because this isn't me. I have one of the biggest hearts out there. In fact, someone used to say to me, "You have a beautiful heart, Wendy," and I would never believe that when they used to say that to me, but I do, and it's a big heart. But I have stopped caring about people, and I have stopped caring about certain. It just doesn't touch me anymore. It's just like, I'm done. And I don't like being like that, but it's also saved me. It's also saved
But one thing about it, one thing about it is it saves our sanity. Because there's so much going on. Mm-hmm. You simply cannot react to everything. Because you have to, like Michael said, compartmentalize, because if you don't, you're constantly going to be in that state because there's so much going on in the world right now, close to us and far away. But you can't react to everything. There's no possible way.
This is what really blows my mind. I'll get up other mornings, like I said, a lot of times I'll call and I'll check on Wendy or whatever, and I'll have GB News on. And I'll be like, you know, this is going on in the UK. And she's like, ain't got a fucking clue what's going on in the UK. I'm like, you didn't hear about this? You know, and it's like, you know, one news station that we have here, you know, for our country, that I'm watching that. And I'm like, there's some weird shit going on in Portugal today. You know what I'm saying? Because they cover all that. But that comes back from my need of having all the information from what I did before. Because if there's some shit popping off in one part of the world, I want to know about it, because that gives me a couple hours to, like I said, you know, I got 2 rules. Buy a helmet, put on the fucking helmet. I want the little lead time so I can go put on the helmet for me and the dogs.
But half
you know, and I'm like, you know.
News, let's be honest, most of the things that we see on the news is to stimulate us or to push us down a different road. How do we know we're seeing the truth? How do we know we're being told the truth? Because the narrative is very, very different. And as I said, we're not going into that. The point is, we are being fed a certain way to be, whether it's this, that, or the other, and whatever side of the road you're on. We are fed a narrative. So I don't watch it anymore because part of me doesn't even believe it's true. And the other thing is, they want to stimulate us so that one of us responds against the other. Let's bring you and make you fight against each other. And I think that it's bad enough human beings trying to get along without social media. I mean, social media is full of that.
In the gas
as well. That's the other thing I've learned through social media.
Keyboard warriors.
You are friends with lots of people, and then you find out somebody has a social gathering and you weren't invited, but everybody else was, and you're like, but they didn't invite you. Or maybe they find out that you had a social gathering and you didn't invite them. It's like, I think we learn very quickly that everything is quite fickle in life. It really is fickle, and the people you can count on are on a couple of fingers, and the actual real truth of life is, can you really believe what we're being shown on social media, on television? No, you can't. You really can't. They could put masks on now and you'll believe it's Elvis Presley talking to you because they look that good. So I think that if we've become desensitized by life outside our friendships and relationships, it's also happening to us, sadly, in our personal lives as well. Barbara says, it took me a long time, but I've learned that I have to worry. I need to put these on. That I have to worry about me before anybody or anything else. Because if you don't take care of yourself, sure as hell, Barbara, no one else is going to.
self-care comes first, and it took me a long time to learn about self-care. And because I'd give and I'd give and I'd give, and I'd be so much out there that I would have nothing left for me when I got home. You drag yourself in.
But I think we feel like we're doing something bad or something that we're not supposed to if we do take care of ourselves.
Yeah, we're being selfish.
If we do give ourselves, we think, well, I could have done, I could have spent that on this one, or, I could have, the day that I wanted to lay around because I felt like shit, I should have been doing this. So we almost feel bad when we do something for ourselves.
The older I get, I'm more like Barb. If I get up and I feel like shit, I'll tell the dogs. I'll be like, hey, you know what? Fluff your pillow. We're going to bed.
But what about...
And I'll get up and lock the door.
I use this before we sort of end this conversation, but money. Money is a lesson that we either learn or we don't learn. How many times do we get in debt? How many times do we learn that there isn't a tree perhaps at the end of the garden? Because life is very hard now. We can't all afford to live. We can't afford to pay the bills. We are learning very, very quickly that the life that we once had is gone or is going and is changing. And some of the new life's lessons that are coming in aren't always nice ones at all. In fact, I was listening to a conversation on LBC. It's a radio station in the UK. It's quite well known. And there were two people arguing over Ukraine and Russia. And I was listening to it today, and I thought, it doesn't matter what year, what decade, there is always going to be two people that will see things differently, react to things differently, to argue. That is the name of human nature. But the only thing you can do is take the lessons that you learn and the lessons that you've given out, and use that hypothetical word, move on and learn from them. Because my mum used to say to me, if someone keeps hurting you, Wendy, why the hell you keep going back? Why do you keep letting them do it to you again and again and again? How many times have you got to learn before they do it? And I think that's the one thing I have learned now. I don't give that many chances now. If I'll be there, but you cut me off, or you hurt me, or you piss me off, or you're wishy-washy, or I'm done. I'm bye-bye.
See, that's what I said a while ago. I think the older we get, we've learned how to do that. 20s, 30s, we're afraid of hurting somebody's feelings because, we don't hurt anybody. So we put ourselves through things that we shouldn't. And now, I'm speaking for myself. The older I get, I don't care about other people's feelings as much. And I'm not going to let somebody hurt me just to save their feelings.
But when we cut them off, it doesn't mean they're a terrible person. It doesn't mean that they're a terrible person. It just means that we have learned where I need to stretch my energy out to, who's worth my energy. I have learned the toughest lessons from the people I love, from doctors that have fucked my body up and have made such a mess of it that I'm having to learn how to live with it. And that is something I don't think I'll ever learn to live with, and I don't think I'll ever accept. I can't have children because doctors fucked my body up. So I learned a very tough lesson, that just because they're in the medical profession and they're there doesn't mean that they're to help you or to save you, because we know so many people. So I think I've learned some of the toughest lessons from medical, from the hospital system, from doctors, from my family, from those that I've loved, from my close friends. And I think I've also learned a lot of lessons from me. It's like, Wendy, you got to listen to yourself now, girl. You've got to listen to yourself, because what are you learning, Wendy? What are you learning here? Are we getting the lesson yet, Wendy? And I think that I think, I'm very blunt with how I say things, and also I'm devil's advocate on here. When I say this, I'm not always speaking because this is how I feel or that's what I've gone through. I'm trying to put in situations where other people can go, well, yeah, I get that, or where you're coming from. Yeah. But there are situations in my life where I can go. So like, you go to a casualty department and they treat you like shit again and again and again, and they bruise you and they damage you, and I ain't going back there again. Or you go to a vet with a dog, they hurt you, and the dog doesn't, I'm not taking it back there again because you've had that experience. And what I mean is that life is short. Take the lesson, learn from it, and either make your life better from it, or don't give someone else the lesson that you didn't want to have, that you didn't want to receive. Thank you for that, Steve. Wendy's a gift moderator. All right. Well, I'm trying to be, because at the end of the day is like, I'm trying to put in so much, but don't give people the lessons that you don't want to achieve, right? Treat someone the way that you don't want to be treated. Treat them as you want to be treated. And that doesn't mean that we don't fuck up and we don't make mistakes, because we do. But it's like, don't be an arsehole. Don't be a ghoster. Don't be a gaslighter. For fuck's sake, grow up. Don't block people out of your life. Here's a tip. When you get in a relationship with someone new, don't dump your friends. Don't dump your friends. And also at the same time, if you're in a situation, a bad relationship, and that person's hurting you again and again, sit down and go, hang on a minute, I keep feeling hurt. Why am I hurt? Well, that's right, because I just go back to that person and go, do you know what? Just give it to me again. I'll just bend over, shall I? And you give it to me again. Yeah. That is what we do again and again and again. So the lessons, the lesson of today is take the fucking lesson, own it, and don't give it to other people. And also, if you are going to give someone a lesson, make sure it's a positive one. You are going to give them negative ones without a doubt. I did, and you're going to do it. But own it, stand up for yourself in your power. I mean, Val, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, one part, I don't always think that people realize. I know I didn't realize that I had a pattern.
Yeah.
Until I had already been through it for years and years and years. And I had followed that pattern for years. But once I did wake up, you got to wake up.
Yeah.
And change that pattern. And if you don't change that pattern, you're going to live the rest of your life exactly as miserable as you are when you woke up.
And sometimes people tell you you're in a pattern, but you don't believe them. You're like, no, I'm not.
And that's another thing. You really need to start listening to people that care about you and love you, especially those that have been with you through these things.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to lie to you.
No.
And if you take a step back, you'll see it for yourself. But, too many times we disregard other people's feelings because, you kind of say, oh, well, they're just jealous because I'm not spending as much time with them, or, things like that. But in truth, like I said, if you step back and look from their perspective, you'll see a lot you don't know about. Yeah. And they're there to help you.
I have to hold back sometimes because there are a lot of things I could say and could be more blunt with. But I try to stay on the side of in the middle.
But it's hard to do that when you care and love care about and love someone, and you don't want to see them go through that.
Talk about holding
there's
back.
Nothing really you can do about it.
Especially when they're going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. It's coming, and you it's going to be tomorrow, the next day, or the next day after that. It's coming, and you have to watch someone you love and as a parent, you guys would understand that.
Yeah.
You have to watch someone you love, or as a child watching a parent go through it, you watch someone go through it and go, and I actually said this to someone tonight. I actually said, you may have to step back and protect yourself because you want to help so much and you want to give so much and you want to protect, but at the same time, who's protecting you?
Yeah.
Who's protecting you in this situation? And I think sometimes you have to step back and protect yourself.
But with that said, and I always, older I get, I preach kindness is free, and a lot of times that's like I called, the internet was acting up the other day, and the lady, you could tell that because it was like a whole area wide outage, so there's a lot of pissed off people that could not watch their streaming or whatever. And I got on, she's like, "Oh, let me guess." I was like, "No, honey, I'm not that guy this morning. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I just kind of curious what's going on. This also happened." And I told her, I said, "I'm not going to scream at you, nothing like that." I said, "I don't know how you put up with it. I could not do your job. Just take my information." She's like, "That is so gracious of you." I'm thinking, no, it's just, there's no need to be a prick because this woman's probably not making that much money. She's answering phones to pissed off people all day. And I can only imagine what kind of emotional toll that takes. Mm-hmm. But that being said, the kindness is free. And
it's never too late.
And
to as Michael says, kindness is everything. Yeah. And it's never too late to be kind and open your heart and help someone. But it's also sometimes being kind means also protecting yourself as well, because you're being kind. There are some situations, Michael, that you and I both know can change. Yeah. And other times we know there are situations like.
But even when you're talking about, like I said, and I seen earlier, said, don't cross my, I put that guy to bed a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? I figured out I'll be 54 in June. If me and my puppies are happy, anybody here knows that, that's what I get up, that's what I'm, whatever. But sooner or later, even that old dog that has all that fight in him, he will come out. And Wendy heard that one night when we were talking about probably the same situation. She's talking about, I had a right real go, as she would say, at somebody and told him, "Hey, open your eyes, you're fucking stupid. This is what's happening." And I felt like shit for lashing out at somebody that I knew that was fucking up by the numbers. You could see it as like 1, 2, 3, 4, just mark them off. And it made me feel like crap because, one, I think a lot of this person, I respect them, and, they're smart. You know what I'm saying? They're very intellectual, capable, but I see them going through a situation and the kindness has not worked. So finally, when you lose it and you lash out, people look at you like, "Damn, you're an asshole." I'm thinking, oh, it could have been worse. But
I think one thing I've learned is there are situations in my life I hope change.
Yeah.
I don't know when or how or where, if they'll ever change. I hope so, because that would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be really, really nice. And also I've learned that everybody needs a voice. Everybody needs a voice. Animals don't have a voice, sadly. We take it from them, and they should have a voice, and we should be their voice for animals. Just remember that, please, because there are so many animals that need our voice, that we need to be their voice. But everyone should have a voice, and everyone should be able to have their moment of saying, "This is how I feel," or "This is," and we should listen to someone, because one thing we should learn is we learn a lot by listening. And we learn a lot by watching that person as they're talking to us. We pick up everything. I hope tonight has been of help. Sometimes when we start a topic, we don't know which way it's going to go, what we're going to talk about, what comes up. There are harder lessons out there, which I'm sure some people have gone through and are going through right now. And I would, tomorrow is another day. There's always an opportunity to start afresh, to look at things fresh in a different light. for me, I've learned some lessons I wish I'd never learned, and I can't do anything about that. I have to live with them. But I do hope there are some lessons that I learn in the future, which are good ones, because I could do with a few of them. Val, this is an important week for us because we have 3 shows of Wicked Women.
We do. Well, 2 more shows. Wednesday night, and I think we decided 10:30 my time.
Yep.
My time. No. 10:30 your time. So 5:30 my time. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It is 10:30 my time.
Yeah. So it's 5:30 my time.
Yeah. We have
5 hours difference.
We have the New Year's Eve show, which means you guys get to see the New Year come in from the UK, Greenwich Mean Time, the proper New Year. But, literally, we will be, we're talking about Auld Lang Syne. So that's what the show is about at 10:30. What is Auld Lang Syne? Not the song, not where it comes from. What does it actually mean when you say those words? Should old acquaintances be forgotten? So absolutely, that's our show on Wednesday, isn't it? Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, yeah.
10:30 UK. You'll find if you go to our YouTube channel, Wicked Women AAA, you will see the shows that are coming up because we're starting to put them out there early. Saves a lot of work. And then
have we put them on Facebook yet? Because
no, they will definitely be on YouTube first. And the second show next Sunday, I'm looking forward to it, and it's Frisky at 50. Are we frisky at 50? Is it difficult? Is it more difficult?
You're going to have to remind me what that means.
Well, exactly. Is it more difficult?
Ibuprofen.
What makes you frisky at 50? So that is our show next Sunday. And, it's been a difficult year for Wicked Women. We've had a lot of ill health. We haven't always been able to be on. We had to take some time out for our own health. And the little show that started a couple of years ago that people thought would still not be here is doing really well, and we're growing. And I would ask everyone to like us, share, and subscribe. And we do have a lot of people that watch, because we're aware of that, watch us but haven't subscribed, or watch us and they're like hidden. They're hidden who they're following. So we're aware of that too, and we're very grateful. Val, I mean, it's been a tough year, hasn't it?
It has, but we made it through. We made it through.
Yeah, I know.
We can just look forward to next year.
Well, it's next week.
I know
it's going to be a big year,
but we've got another year. From Wednesday on, we've got a whole nother year to change things.
Well, you've got a chance to change things every day, right?
Absolutely.
You don't have to wait till the new year, but I would say absolutely. Next week's going to be weird. That I'm going to be in 26 and you're going to be in 25. The one time a year it happens. And
will be coming to us from the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will be doing shows in the new year with paranormal in mind, with history as well. There's a fight going on down here, so forgive me. And also Dwayne Klassen will be back with us in January. And someone just hit their head. And also AJ and the Animal Rescue. So all these shows have got to come. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like and share. I don't know how many people likes and shares, but that helps with the algorithm. Share it to people you like. I always said take a breath. I have been taking a breath, but anyway. But no, I always forget to tell people that it does help. Share it to somebody you don't like. Hell, we might be able to get them back on your side. You know what I'm saying? Just hit
like, share, comment, hit that little notification bell so you'll know when we're on.
Send it to everybody.
Send it to everybody.
It might not be your cup of tea, but goddamn it, it's free.
We're looking forward to it. So, apart from that, Val, anything else I've forgotten? Pack it in, you two.
Not that I know of. Of course, I probably forgot it too.
Yeah,
they've been so good all show, and then my cat went down and started on the dog, and now the dog's just like, right, okay.
Oh, you didn't hear this calamity over here a while ago because I had my mic muted.
Yeah, no, it's been
the cat jumped into a tub and knocked it off of the the
literally
thing, and it sounded like a bomb going off.
So
am I the only one that? So I'm the only one that's got good fur babies tonight.
Well,
they're in there asleep on the couch.
Got this thing about, he's so sweet, and then all of a sudden he's like stalk. He's like that Tom and Jerry cartoon where the dog goes up butch. That's exactly what Vamp is like.
Well, mine are just, if I'm in here, they have to be in here, so they like to piddle and everything.
They are. I can't sadly turn the camera around because one is being good and the other one isn't. But it's been a great night. I've really enjoyed the show tonight, and I know sometimes we talk from the heart. It's quite passionate. Everyone comes from a different story, and our lives are changing like this. We hope that everybody enjoyed. Please come back and join us on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
BRB, bring your own booze because we're tight. We're broke.
And we will say a little prayer for my project to turn out in 2026.
Absolutely.
If so, I will definitely be sharing it. But as of right now, it's kind of a secret, so I can't really go into detail.
Try to bring them up so you can actually see one of them before we go, because they are literally right here. We will be dressing up as well because it's New Year's Eve. Yes. So hopefully, please come on and join us, as in come on and join us. Yes. Come and take the ball by the hand. Come on, log on and join us, because we'd like to see some of you guys. So what you got to lose? We're friendly. We'll let you in.
Like I said, and a lot of times I break the fourth wall a lot, and I see a lot of more people have started doing that. It's like because if you think the conversations that we have here are wild, you're to see what happens before she hits the record button. A lot of times,
oh yeah, it's true.
I will throw things out, and
Val he's like putting up with me. Is this okay or whatever like this?
But I'll throw things out. I was like, boom, 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 and I can look at either one of their expressions and be like, "Oh, I can't say that live," or that's too much. And but no, like I said, you kind
of difficulties before we come on as well. Sometimes that's why we're late, because especially with Val, because she's further out into the country, so sometimes her signal is absolutely atrocious. But we want to thank everybody for watching us. I hope you guys have a last week of 2025, although I can't wait to see that year go. Have a good one. And you know what? If there's someone out there that you miss and you love, or there's something you need to say to them, do it sooner than later.
Yeah.
Learn from someone who's been there, done it, and ticked it off. Do it before it's too late.
Yes. Or if they need a good kick in the pants, sometimes you just got to get it out. You know what I'm saying? If you got any unfinished business with people, I'm just
swing that boot.
Yes, swing that boot. Oh,
I can't actually show you. No, you can't. I was going to show you him, but I can't because he's right under. He's looking all sweet and innocent. Ken, thank you very much. See you guys. I must get the music up one sec.
I was going to say, don't forget Uncle Terry, or he'll be upset.
Hi, Terry. Thank you for joining us tonight on Wicked Women.
Because he will be so naughty if you don't.
Michael, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on Wednesday. Val, as always, a pleasure, my darling.
Absolutely. I want to thank everybody for spending the Sunday evening with us. And I hope to see everybody and more on Wednesday. We bring in that new year.
Well, yes, I'm going to try and set it up so that you can actually see it going on in good old London town. If the London mayor gives us a good show, that is.
Right.
But yes, everybody else, have a great night. I'm trying to find my music where it is. Here we go. And I'll see you on Wednesday night.
I will see you Wednesday, gorgeous.
See you soon, darling. Love you too. Bye.
Bye.